Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. I have your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift, so let's go ahead and get started today with your questions. First one comes from Smirtaza. Hey Aaron, if Daniel Bryan does not get cleared by WrestleMania, which is most likely that he won't, who do you see facing Shane McMahon? Personally, I don't think he should compete. I know his match with AJ was good last year, but it didn't do anything for AJ. What do you think? Well, first of all, regarding Shane McMahon and AJ Styles, I think it did do something for AJ because AJ had the best match at WrestleMania. Now, AJ might have been able to have the best match with just about anybody at WrestleMania, but Shane held his own. Give Shane some credit. I think the Hell in the Cell match with Undertaker, while the majority of the match was forgettable, Shane taking that fall from the top of the cell, very memorable WrestleMania moment. Shane McMahon deserves some credit for going all out at WrestleMania and at other events as well. Who will be Shane's opponent at this year's WrestleMania? See, I don't really have a big issue with Shane being in a match at WrestleMania. Yeah, it does take away from other people and their opportunities to be at WrestleMania. That's one less spot available. But at the same time, you want to have your big guns for WrestleMania, and Shane is one of those big guns. Regarding a match, it seems like WWE has been building up something with Shane and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Some sort of match with those guys. One would think a tag team match, a Teddy Long special. Shane McMahon and a partner against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Maybe Daniel Bryan can be the guest referee, and that's how you get Bryan involved at WrestleMania without him actually wrestling. And then you can have the storyline, which side will Daniel Bryan be on? Will he help Shane McMahon, or will he help his buddies Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn? I could very well see something like that being the match at WrestleMania, which I think is good because you got some star power there, and it should be a fun match with Owens, Zayn, Shane, and the fourth person. And there's a lot of different options you can have for that fourth person. Maybe Dolph Ziggler. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of different guys that might not have a good spot at WrestleMania that you could insert into that role. What do you guys think? Leave a comment on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Let me know what you think. Got this one here from Oscar. With a report stating that Ronda Rousey was only brought in to try and make Stephanie McMahon a, quote, mainstream star, do you think the fans will turn on Ronda, making her pay for what WWE wants? Basically making him a martyr for the company's decision-making. There's always a possibility there could be some fan backlash. I know there are some very vocal fans on social media that have been critical of Ronda Rousey being in WWE, feeling she hasn't earned it, she hasn't paid her dues, pretty much ignoring the fact that Mike Tyson was a celebrity that just came in and elevated Steve Austin to a major degree. Steve Austin was already a big star, but when Mike Tyson came in, Mike Tyson's name value and the publicity helped make Steve Austin an even bigger star. A whole new generation of fans were introduced to Steve Austin. Now, I don't think Ronda Rousey is going to make the kind of impact that Mike Tyson did, because WWE doesn't really have that strong character that all that character needs is a little bit of mainstream attention to become a top-level Steve Austin, The Rock level character. WWE just doesn't have that person. But what Ronda Rousey can do is she can help elevate the women's division and put it in the main events and give it even more credibility than it already has. But as you mentioned with that question, there's some speculation that WWE is only doing this to elevate Stephanie McMahon. And if that gets out and that spreads, people start believing it, who knows? I think it will come down to how Ronda performs. If she steps up her game, if she cuts some good promos, if she has a solid debut match, I think fans will be into her and will accept her. But if she doesn't really live up to those expectations, then I could see there being at some point a backlash. But I don't anticipate it happening right away. And that actually leads me to the next question from Kyle Allen. Will WWE fans crap on Ronda Rousey when she signs her contract at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? I don't think so, because keep in mind, this show is in Las Vegas. This is UFC's home base. It's UFC territory. Ronda Rousey, obviously coming from the UFC, that's where she made her name. I think most of the fans there have probably seen Ronda Rousey fight before in the UFC. And I think that they will give her a good reception. This is the best place, in my opinion, to have Ronda Rousey make this kind of appearance and really get her started in WWE. Have her do this contract signing in her home base, UFC's home base, Las Vegas, Nevada. I think she'll get a good reaction. And like I said earlier, I think it will depend on her performance here and her upcoming performances on the mic and setting up the build for WrestleMania. I think that that will be more of a factor in how fans react to her moving forward. But yeah, if the promo work isn't very strong, if the storyline isn't very strong, and Stephanie is getting a lot of TV time, which she probably will, all those different factors combined could potentially lead to a backlash at WrestleMania. And keep in mind at WrestleMania too, if the fans are tired or they're upset, I mean, the placement of the match is going to be really important. If it's at the end of the show, an 8-hour WrestleMania, or whatever it is, 7 hours, it's just a long show. At the end of the show, and if Roman Reigns goes on before and wins the Universal title, some fans might be cranky and they might turn on the match. So it's really hard to say. There's so many different variables. It's hard to call at this point how the fans are going to react to Ronda in the long term. But short term, Elimination Chamber, I would be surprised personally if she got a negative reaction there. This one comes from Harvey. Could you see Bobby Lashley teaming with Ronda Rousey, as he has had MMA background against Triple H and Stephanie, or do you see him debuting the night after WrestleMania? I don't anticipate Bobby Lashley being at WrestleMania. I don't see him being in the mixed tag team match, if that is in fact what WWE is going to do. That's still not 100% confirmed, but I would suspect that that is the direction WWE is going in, a mixed tag team match. The thing is, Bobby Lashley has been gone from WWE for a decade now, over a decade. And yeah, he's been doing some Bellator, but beyond that, he's not a mainstream name. And I don't think WWE is going to give that WrestleMania spot to somebody who's been gone from the company for over a decade. If Lashley had the star power, then I would say, yeah, if Lashley was in the UFC and was almost as big of a deal as Brock Lesnar, then yeah, I could see him being Rousey's partner, but he's not at that level of stardom, and I don't think WWE is going to put him in that match. Anything's possible, though, but if I had to make a prediction, I would say most likely he's going to debut after WrestleMania. The night after WrestleMania seems like a pretty safe bet. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. Was that Apollo Crews' first time main eventing Raw, let alone anything? Was he just a body for the match, or maybe a slow push of sorts? He was basically a body. He was just there to fill a spot in the match. I don't think WWE has any intentions on pushing him. I suspect if he's lucky, he'll be in the Dre, or he'll be in some multi-man match, and that will be his WrestleMania role if he even gets one. He'll probably be in the Battle Royal, if I had to make a prediction. Was it his first main event? I believe he had a Raw main event correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going based off of my memory. I think he had a main event match with Strowman. I don't know if it was the last match or not, but I remember he had a match with Strowman and he went for that backflip and Strowman got his knees up and that spot looked crazy. That was an awesome spot. Strowman just lifted Apollo way into the air. It was crazy. But that match I specifically remember. I think it was a Raw main event, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Will he get another main event spot? Never say never. He might, but I don't think WWE has him on the radar in terms of this guy's going to get a big spot at WrestleMania. He's going to get a big push. I don't see that happening. This one comes from It's the Costanza. Now that Ivory is in the Hall of Fame, do you see a surprise inductee of her inducting Chyna during her speech? I don't think so. The thing is, if Chyna's going into the Hall of Fame, hype it up. Make a big deal out of it. Chyna could potentially be the headliner. I mean, you could go as far as to make her the headliner, especially if the women continue to have a main event presence in WWE. That would be awesome. Have Ronda Rousey induct Chyna into the Hall of Fame next year as the headliner. I think that would be a great idea. That would get fans over. That would get fans cheering for Rousey and get Rousey over. If WWE did that, you know, Rousey doing the speech for Chyna, she'd get some brownie points with the fans, I think. I think Chyna should get a proper induction. I think announcing it as a surprise, I'm not really a big fan of that, and it's just very random. WWE doesn't really do stuff like that, so I'm not anticipating that happening, and I don't think it's a good idea. So probably not, but will Ivory reference Chyna? I could see that definitely happening. I could see Ivory talking about Chyna a little bit and giving her some props. You know, they did have that feud in 2001. WWE even acknowledged it in Ivory's video package. I think Ivory will mention Chyna and say some nice things about her, which will be a fun moment. This one comes from Brian. Do you think Evil Doink would have made a good IC champion? I felt like WWE could have gotten a lot more mileage out of heel Doink, including putting the IC title on him and a feud with The Undertaker. What are your thoughts? Please answer in video. I don't know about the IC title because the IC title feuds during 1993 were pretty strong with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty and Mr. Perfect, although the SummerSlam match was a disappointment. Big disappointment, actually. And then, of course, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. So I think Doink might have taken the quality of the IC title down a little bit. As much as I love the heel character, I think WWE had it right building the Intercontinental title and the feuds around Shawn Michaels. Doink, however, I think would have been a much better opponent for The Undertaker than Giant Gonzalez. Doink messing around with The Undertaker, the mind games. Creatively, I think WWE could have done some really interesting things with heel Doink against The Undertaker, against Bret Hart, against some of the other top baby faces, Lex Luger. But instead, they turned him face and made him a kid-friendly character, which sucked. Heel Doink was an awesome character, but it just completely jumped the shark when he went babyface, in my opinion. Got this one here from Kirk. With almost everyone being on the Mania card nowadays, are the WrestleMania payouts, and that's in quotes, still a huge check? Thanks for your time. Keep up the awesome work. I still believe they're fairly significant. It's still a big deal to be on the WrestleMania card. It's WWE's biggest grossing event. Ticket sales alone are just incredible numbers, and every year it seems like the numbers are going up. I think part of that is just due to the fact that ticket prices keep going up, and WrestleMania is happening. It's a yearly tradition. Fans come in, they spend the big bucks. You got the Hall of Fame, you got Raw, you got SmackDown, you got NXT. You got the access signings. There's a lot of money the company's making that weekend. They count on these tens of thousands of fans to come in, and it's a really big deal. So yeah, the paychecks are significant, and not just the money, but also the exposure. It's one show of the year where you'll have the lapsed fans, the fans that stopped watching, they will come back. They will tune in again out of curiosity to see what WWE is up to again. And, you know, it is important to have a spot at WrestleMania to get that exposure. So it is about the money. It is about the exposure. And yeah, the money is a big deal. And if you can have a breakthrough performance at WrestleMania, think of the potential money to be made if you do something at WrestleMania that really stands out and the company decides to push you as a result. So there's definitely a lot to gain from being at WrestleMania, not just for that one night, but potentially the future, how much money you might be able to make further down the line as your star power increases. This one comes from 40KEI. Do you think there will be a payoff with Dolph Ziggler? He's coming back saying he has to headline WrestleMania. With good booking as a possessed man, it could be interesting. Maybe even book him against Undertaker? What do you think? I don't know about Undertaker. I feel like if Undertaker's doing one more match, Cena's the right guy, because it's really the only big match Undertaker hasn't done. And even that, you guys know that have been watching my videos, I have very mixed feelings about Undertaker even wrestling again, period. Ziggler, I hope WWE does something significant with him. He's reportedly making big bucks in WWE. I mean, SI.com is claiming that he's making $1.5 million a year. I'm not sure I buy that number. That seems awfully high for a guy that really hasn't been a significant player in WWE as of late. So I find a hard time believing the company would give him that kind of money. But still, he did re-sign, which means he got a good financial offer to stay. Does that mean he will get a big push? I don't know. If he does get a good push, then I think that that's a sign WWE did pay him significant amounts of money, because usually when they pay out the big money, they want a return on their investment. Like Brock Lesnar, the money he's getting paid, they want a return on their investment. Big Show, when he came in, he got a huge contract, and WWE wanted their return on that investment. I think the same thing will apply to Dolph Ziggler. So time will tell what kind of push he gets. If he doesn't get pushed, then I don't really buy that $1.5 million a year salary. Nonetheless, I think Ziggler should get a push and should be one of the top guys. But I also feel like at the same time, it's almost too late, because he's been marginalized for so long now that it's really hard to take the guy seriously. He's had so many start and stop pushes. It's like fans, I think, are over him at this point. But he did have a good performance this past week on SmackDown, and maybe another solid performance at Fastlane could get fans hyped up for Dolph Ziggler again. Time will tell. Got this one here from Mark. Hello, Aaron. What do you think about let me start that again. What you think of what the NWA has done over the past several months with the 10 Pounds of Gold video series? Do you think that they will be able to become big in wrestling once again with Billy Corgan's 20-year plan? Well, I have to make a confession here. I have not been following those videos. Jeff Meacham might be a better guy to answer that question. I did watch the video with Magnus versus James Ellsworth, and I wasn't really impressed with it. I'm still not convinced that the NWA can really develop into something and become a player again in the wrestling industry. It's just been so long, and going back to that Ziggler question, it's really hard to get reestablished again when something has cooled off. And I think with the NWA, it's just been a non-factor for so many years. A 20-year plan, it's really hard to do something like that, because The technology is always changing. You don't know how the wrestling business is going to evolve over the next 20 years. It could be something completely different 5 years from now than what it is right now. I think it's very difficult to do that kind of long-term planning. So I am certainly skeptical of Billy Corgan being able to turn it around. I hope he can, though, because wrestling needs more successful promotions. Wrestling needs the competition. Can the NWA become competition to WWE? Highly unlikely, in my opinion, but maybe they can become somewhat of a player and become a promotion that has a cult following and maybe can influence WWE and other promotions to step up their game. So I hope he can do something with it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up about it. I just don't know. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. Thank you all for watching and supporting NoDQ.com. Thank you all for purchasing beanies. They sold out very quickly. I apologize. There were a few people that had ordered beanies and I had to refund them money because we sold out. I'm looking into possibly ordering more, so let me know if you're interested. If you're seriously interested in purchasing a beanie, leave a comment and let me know. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Elimination Chamber. And I will see you guys next time.